What do you know about the bat bomb?
I know about the bat bomb here and that whole program that they spent millions on that ultimately ended up not being able to actually function.
It was awesome.
Here's the thing. Theoretically, it did work. In tests, it worked. In practice, it didn't. Do you want to tell the story or should I?
We'll do it together. You start.
Okay. So everyone knows, back in World War II, there's a lot of fucking weird weapons. There was a lot of different ones. And there were many different cases throughout history of people utilizing animals. And what they discovered was that, so the majority of Japanese homes all over the country are made of wood and paper, and they are all glued together, because half of it was that they most of the time didn't even use iron nails to nail any of this shit together. They would literally use wood joinery, exactly, and stick that together with paper,
which is fantastic carpentry.
It's artsy as hell. It's beautiful. But problem with that is that it makes it remarkably easy for when a fire breaks out for everything to go to shit. So they were using varying different incendiary bombs, but the problem with incendiary bombs is that they are bombs. The moment that they get dropped and utilized, this means that someone is able to go out and start fighting the fire immediately. So the idea that they came up with, or one guy came up with here, and I can't remember the fucker's name.
Bro, do you know what his job was?
No, I can't even remember what it was.
No. This is the best part of the story. I don't remember his name either, but he was a dentist from Kentucky that fucking hated bats. He was super religious, and he wrote in detail that he firmly believes that God had created such a biological abomination for one sole purpose in human history, and it was
Japanese.
to strap napalms to burn down Tokyo.
It was like God made this wretched flying rat for one reason.
So
kill the Japanese.
He was an inventor. He'd invented other things before. He also held a patent for the fried chicken vending machine.
He had a patent for a device he strapped to a mouse to fucking kill Filipinos.
Anyways, so he went to like college or some shit with FDR's wife.
Eleanor Roosevelt.
He sent a bunch of letters into the government.
He wrote the letters directly to her. That's how he got through the screening process, because she knew him, and she wrote letters directly to Eleanor Roosevelt, and she's like, fuck it, honey, my college side piece wanted me to give you this, and FDR is sitting there in his chair like, I mean, fucking it might work. There's a signed like letter from FDR to his Joint Chiefs of Staff saying, this man is not a lunatic. I think this is a plausible idea. We need to investigate it.
The amount of times that animals have been used in varying different degrees of warfare is scary for how many times it's actually worked.
One of the queens that had a revenge story was the
birds.
pigeons. Yep, the birds, and burnt down a whole fucking.
That was Katerina.
Olga of Kiev.
Olga. Yeah,
burnt the city down.
Also,
with
animal weapons, one of my favorites is when the Soviets were strapping bombs to dogs to be anti-tank.
No,
they were training dogs to be anti-tank weapons. So they were training dogs to run and hide under tanks, and then they would blow up. Well, the problem is that the dogs can't really differentiate between a Soviet tank and any other type of fucking tank.
Problem for not being able to differentiate all the training, because they didn't have captured German panzers. They were using Soviet tanks for the training.
But my point is, I love this story because dogs are man's best friend. They're man's best friend.
I hate this dead dog story.
And they killed all the Soviets, which proves my point that communists aren't people. Anyways.
I will say this on that note forward here. Half the trainers refused to ever actually do any of this stuff in the first place. So the program was half the time a failure. The other problem is that when they trained the dogs, they didn't do them in live fucking combat situations. They trained them.
You only get one chance with the dogs, bud.
Yeah, but the gunfire, PTSD for dogs.
Fucking right. So here's what ended up happening. So the initial training what they have is, first off, not a German tank. They would have a Soviet tank stationary, and they would train the dog to run under it. And that was the whole point, so that it could blow. Problem was, in real combat situation, it's not just individual tanks that are on the outside. They have infantry that are moving with them to support and shoot at anything that moves in the first place. So the dogs, when they brought them into the battlefield, were getting scared as shit. They didn't know where to go. So the dogs, with timed explosives strapped to them, were running back into their own lines to their handlers for safety and were blowing up their own lines.
I hate this so much.
How was the bat bomb a failure?
Who's
Because
this
I
for?
disagree that it was radically successful.
No. Here's the thing. It worked from all practical tests.
Yes.
It did not actually work when they tried to utilize.
I don't think they ever utilized
No,
it.
that's the thing. That's why, because the program got shut down before.
Oh, okay. So we're on the same page.
Yeah.
I thought you were saying it didn't work. I was like, no, it's highly effective.
No,
We just
it
decided
worked.
not to.
It worked in all the practical tests. It's just in the end, they didn't actually use it.
Do you know the official reason why they never actually used it?
God, I can't remember. I covered this like 3 years ago.
They
I don't
couldn't-
remember.
They didn't have enough time to round up enough fucking bats before they were going to finish the atomic bomb was the reason that they abandoned the project. They're like, by the time we breed 3 million Mexican dove-tailed bats, they'll have finished the atomic bomb and we won't need them.
I didn't know
I'm
that
trying
was
to
a
look at
bat.
this. Cost of atomic bomb in 1945. What was it?
$300.
For 20 million.
Okay, so they spent $2 billion on the project in 1945 as a whole, which is the equivalent of $30 billion in 2023. Like, that was the atomic bombing, the cost in here. If I recall correctly, they only spent a couple $1 million on the BAT program.
Do you know the story about how the bat program got continued?
Wait,
what do you mean
what?
continue, like into Vietnam?
They almost canceled it the first time. And then it got pressed into actually becoming a finished product that they ended up abandoning because they couldn't get enough bats.
That sounds like military.
After the first test, so
because it worked, but they killed the bats that they used the first time.
Right.
No,
but they tried to
bred
abandon
so many,
it.
They were like, fuck,
You know
now
why
we
it
got
got
a
to stay
billion
alive?
bats and we don't know what to
I
do.
tracked down the actual. I tracked down a book, but we're
Turns
fucking
out
doing this.
bats-
Steven's
Oh, yeah,
fucking
we're-
going
shit.
hard. Okay,
Oh, you
fuck
didn't
off.
even wait?
it's okay. No, grab Steven another one. He'll do it with us.
Yeah, no, he's immune to alcohol.
Cheers.
Slancha.
Hit. Oh, and then we tap it, and then we shoot it.
Before you
no.
all did that, I had already drank the other
So
one
they
of
were
this.
gonna have the very first.
That is some of the best whiskey ever.
They were gonna have the very first test of it
Thank
ever,
you.
and
Amazing.
this was an army project at the time. So the army was heading up this project, and they were gonna have the test of it. They did the test. It ended up almost burning down the entire airfield.
Yes, because the it wasn't just the airfield. It's like specifically where they were located,
barracks
like
and
where they were
everything.
stored. Everything got lit on fire.
Yes.
Like San Diego.
No, they were like out in the fucking desert. So like there was nowhere for the bats
all
to
secret.
roost, except for the buildings that they had built for their operation.
wooden
So they like burnt down the entire airfield, and the army's like, well, this doesn't fucking work. And there was one Marine Corps general that showed up because he thought it would be funny and wanted to see it. And that one Marine Corps general was like, what the fuck do you guys mean this isn't working? That worked exactly how it
was
was
a
supposed
working
to.
demonstration
You guys are
that
just
proved that
dipshit.
it works.
So then the Marine Corps general took it up, and the Marines ended up finishing the program because the Army didn't want to anymore.
They're like,
Yep.
damn, these
Shit.
bats that
Yep.
we trained
And
to
I went
burn
through-
shit down, burned all our shit down.
Their estimation is that a bat bomb was going to be 20 times more effective than
Yes.
an incendiary bomb.
Yes.
And the incendiary bombs were more effective than the atomic bombs.
Correct.
So, like, by all accounts, America had an even superior super weapon that we could have deployed on Japan that was way more effective than the atomic bombs, but we didn't.
Shouts out Dresden, what's up?
But there's a beautiful reason as to why. So we think of fighting fire. You think of fighting fire with water, right? You douse it. That's what you would do. The beautiful reality of why this would have worked so much more effectively in comparison to a standard incendiary bomb is that the best way to fight a fire is to create breakages in the fire's path in order to stop it. Like, you don't give it fuel.
Yeah.
So when a firebomb hits an area, it hits a concentrated area, and then from there it spreads out. So if you can destroy enough of the area surrounding it, it will have nowhere to
nullifies
spread.
it.
But the bat bomb, the bats spread out throughout the entire city. And so when the fuses go off, every single place around the entire city will go off at the same time, meaning it will be a conflagration that blows out instantaneously.
They all blow up at once, and you have 1,000 fires.
Then you
all
have
over the
1,000
city.
fires that you can't create any breakages.
Well, it was literally this week I learned how carrier pigeons work because Olga,
Yeah, Olga of Kiev.
Yeah,
though she
Olga
was
of Kiev
sparrows, according to the
sparrows,
legends.
but it is. I didn't realize it
Thought you
was
were
the
gonna talk about
idea of like,
Sharonay.
hey, you go to the place, you grab the pigeons from where they're located at, then you move them. When you let them go, they fly back home.
Home.
Yeah,
That's
they're
the name.
homing
I-
pigeons.
Homing pigeon.
Yes, I did not know that. I was like, wait, how the fuck do they send messages like this? And you'd have a dude that lived in that city, grab that
But
bird, walk all the way
It
back.
wasn't just homing; they would use pairs. So they would typically use mates. So they would always fly to each other. That was the whole point.
So the boy pigeon knew where to tell the girl pigeon to fucking go. No.